Hi, my name is Leia and I used to be a flight attendant for Emirates. Today I'm going to count you 3 stories that happened to me while flying. Okay, so an Airbus A380 can typically hold 421 passenger in economy class, 76 passenger in business class, and 14 in first class. So naturally, something's about to go down, especially on a 16-hour flight to LA. For the aircraft specifics, it was a main deck CRC, meaning it's right next to the passenger's toilet and it just looks like another door. You need a code to enter, but there are ways around it. So the flight itself is about 16 hours, meaning the crew will divide their time of rest between passenger cabin. When economy crew goes to sleep, it's not at the same time as the business class crew or the first class crew. You can't go around with your flashlight or poke people on the shoulder to check if they're actually sleeping. Meaning you need to be very quiet when you enter that CRC. Well, I was getting ready to go to my break, put on my pajamas, untied my hair, and enter the CRC. Trying to be very mindful and very quiet, and I look around. On the CRC bunks, you have those little curtains that close and open. So typically if one is closed, it means someone's using it. And as I look around, I see all of them are closed. So I go back out, I go to my supervisor and I check with them if maybe there was a miscommunication or someone took my spot. We go around all of the crew and everyone is supposed to be here is here and everyone's supposed to be on rest is sleeping. So who's in my bunk? A lady passenger was sleeping in my bunk. I'll never be able to erase her face on my memory when I woke her up. Excuse me, I think this is my bed. This lady, I don't know how, maybe she was ex-crew, maybe she Googled how to get a good night of sleep on a plane when you're sitting in economy. It was so crazy that we actually didn't know what to say. Can you go back to your seat, please? And she goes, oh, ooh, ee, ah. I am not joking you, that was her reaction. I want to believe that she knew what she was doing and she just played it like, oh really, it's not my bed? I'm so confused. And we kind of just, me and the supervisor were standing right outside of that CRC and we're thinking, what just happened? Is this a prank, you know? Never in a million years was I expecting a passenger to just casually sleep in my bunk, but it did happen. Okay, to set the context, this happened during coronavirus. It was actually my first flight after being grounded. It was very surreal seeing a flight on my roster after being grounded for so long. And there were so many protocols in place. Like at this time, I think we were getting tested before and after the flight. It was the only flight I had this month and I don't think any of my friends flew. And I was actually surprised I was pulled for a flight. We actually had our own little car driving us to the airport at this time because there really wasn't much happening. Most of our fleet was grounded. We were just sitting at home. So I thought, cool, let me go on a flight and do something else with my life besides sitting on my couch and petting my cat. So anyway, off we go. This particular flight was a repatriation flight, meaning all of the people that were stuck in, other countries around the world, whether on holiday or they just couldn't go home before. These flights were not fun. They were typically packed. People were stressed with Corona. I want to say this was in April of 2020 and people were really scared. No one really knew what was happening. Some people, they had been away from their family for a long time. Others were stuck. So it was just a mess to begin with. Also, we weren't doing any food services at this time for sanitary reasons. So I believe we just went into the cabin and gave out some, juice and water. And that was pretty much it. The crew was to stay in the galley and avoid any passenger interaction. Oh boy, the flight took a different direction, literally. The flight was bound to Frankfurt, Germany. And as I said, the circumstances around the flight were a bit particular. You had moms alone with 3 young children. You had crew who had just resigned. They were trying to go home. You had people who had been stuck. You had people who hadn't seen their family in a long time. Anyone that was remotely living or trying to get around Frankfurt, even if that was another country, did go on that flight because that was their only way to get home. I remember on that flight I was talking to this crew who had just resigned and she was trying to get back home to Poland, but there was no flight there. So she had to go to Germany and then fly somewhere else and finish the trip in an 18-hour bus ride. Insanity. So needless to say, when a passenger came up to me and said, Oh, I thought we were going to Frankfurt. What does it say Munich on the screen? It took me a second to realize it wasn't just a glitch. A few more passengers came and all pointed out at the screen that said that it changed the destination from Frankfurt to Munich, to which we responded it was probably just a screen problem when the phone rang. It was the captain telling us that we were about to divert. Now, a diversion doesn't have to sound so dramatic. It doesn't mean we're losing a wing or that there's a hole in the structure of the plane, but it means it's still an emergency situation and we should be prepared for anything, especially because we didn't have all the facts just then. We really had no reason to panic until we knew more, and the vibe was quite calm. That is until this dude walked into the galley and started asking for drinks. At this time, we weren't really handing out any more than just water and juices, and people were instructed to just remain seated, only get up to use the bathroom. They weren't really supposed to come into the galley and be in such proximity of us and just request drinks after drinks after drinks. But this guy did. And working for a company like Emirates, where people are used to paying a premium for having good service, it is hard to make them understand that this is not just your regular flight and not here going on a holiday. Even if you were, you know, we had strict instructions and it was a very long day for us because we actually weren't staying at a destination. So we'd have to go back to Dubai straight after landing in Germany, which we typically don't do and stay over for at least 24 hours. So this guy started to be a little bit problematic and he kept on coming to the galley and asking for more drinks. And we said to him, "Sir, you really need to lay low for a bit. You need to go back to your seat and you've had enough to drink." Eventually, the captain informed us that we would have to divert to Munich instead of going to Frankfurt because relics from the Second World War, here bomb, were exploding on the ground in the vicinity of the airport, meaning the whole airspace was restricted and we couldn't land until everything was cleared. Now, if you hear that and you're a cabin crew, you think, okay, that's fine. Do you have nuts from business class for me? Pass me another Pepsi. But what we didn't realize is as we were receiving this call, there was this lady standing in a corner that we didn't see and that had heard everyone. So she started to panic, to which we prompted her to come into the galley, trying to explain to her that everything was fine. But she just wasn't understanding what was going on. There are certain words that you're not supposed to use in aviation, and that's the B word. So we're trying to explain to her that relics from the Second World War, like war mines, that were, you know, buried. I think the Frankfurt airport is surrounded by woods, and it's actually not something that's so uncommon. We were about to land, so the captain had to make a decision and decided to divert to the closest airport and then fly back to Frankfurt once we'd get the all clear. So we were trying to explain with every word possible to this lady that everything was fine, but she just got stuck on that exploding device that really scared her and prompted her to panic and go back into the cabin and start telling everyone around her that there was a bomb on board. God. I'll let you imagine what happened in the cabin after that. People were freaking out, people screaming, crying. There was a mom that was just losing it. Some people, they were overjoyed because they were going to Munich as a final destination. That is until we told them there was no way they would leave the plane. It's just not how it works. But the funny guy came back and started being aggressive towards getting another drink. He wasn't bothered about any bombs or defective device exploding in the woods of Germany. Nope, he just wanted a vodka. That's one thing that never ceased to amaze me. With all of these people and passengers I've seen throughout the years, what people judge to be the priority over something else is truly fascinating human experience. At this point, we need to prepare the cabin for diversion. We need to reassure everyone who's freaking out. We need to get everyone settled and ready to go. But it was just chaotic. Even the ex-crew that just resigned and were leaving Dubai for good, they're starting losing their shit. Completely disregarding that there's nothing I personally can do to help them out. You know what, I'll just drop you above Frankfurt, no worries. So this guy is back at it asking for more drinks, and at this point we cannot deal with him anymore. We already denied him alcohol. We told him we were not going to serve him anymore and that he needed to be seated. And what does this guy do? Pulls out a lighter out of nowhere and start trying to burn my coworkers.
Give me my vodka.
Luckily, we had a reactive crew on board this day, and this guy was on the floor within 2 seconds. When we got to Munich, we called security on ground because we wanted the guy removed. No way you're gonna try and burn my face off and I'm gonna be like, more pretzel? His wife was really nice and super panicking, so ultimately we made him promise not to move from his seat. Actually, I think we put a double buckle on him and finished the flight like that. This happened on a flight to Lisbon. I was in a really good mood because I was going to visit my best friend who lives there, so every time I got this flight, I was like, nothing can touch me. Ha, ha, ha. So I'm over here doing my service, chicken or beef, chicken or beef. Do you want chicken or do you want beef? Until I reach that girl and she tells me she wants the beef. To which I reply, oh shoot, seems like I'm all out of chicken. Would you like to wait while I try and find some more, or are you okay with the beef? To which she said, I want chicken. See a trend there? That's how people typically talk to flight attendants. So I go around not really looking too much for that chicken since that lady was so polite, but I still do my job, and turns out there's no more chicken at all, ever, anywhere, until the end of days of time. You're gonna eat that beef. So I go back to her and say that I'm very sorry, but this choice is no longer available. I'm very happy to give her 2 casseroles of beef if she wants. To which she replies, you're racist because you gave me beef. Now, I need to point out that this issue had nothing to do with dietary requirements. I had made sure with her that she was able to indeed eat both beef and chicken. It was just a preference over what's actually available type of situation. This lady had the audacity of calling me a racist because I didn't give her a meal choice. And even worse than that is the passenger next to her was the last one to receive the chicken, to which she added that it's because he's Arab that I give him the chicken, and that because she's Asian, I give her the beef. I have no affiliation or preferences. Luckily, when passengers are just too much and too unreasonable, your team should back you up, and this is what happened. I was so enraged at that comment that I just didn't want to deal with her anymore, and I just asked my supervisor to swap sides so I wouldn't have to deal with her ever again. And I chose this story for last because there's so many memories and moments like this that happen that I can now look back on and smile, but others are downright awful to experience as a human being. Cabin crew life can be amazing, but it's a very tough job mentally and physically, especially when a passenger takes your bed. I want to know what's the craziest story that happened to you on the flight, and I'll see you in the next video.